excellent. Yeah, I just used it, and now that I'm using GTP4, I guess it is. I'll be trying Dolly a little more. I didn't really like it when I first used it, but
Have you tried Meta's one? Apparently, that one's really good.
no, I have not.
Oh, sorry. Let me silence this.
No worries at all. As we're getting going, thanks for joining us, everyone. We're about to get started.
We're set to go.
Yeah, and
yeah, what's Meta's is it's bugging. It's gonna bug me now. Anyways, apparently it's really good.
And I need graphics for stuff, right? So I usually use Canva to create most of my things now. But when I'm talking about background graphics and stuff, a lot of times it's Night Cafe or Adobe Firefly, and also, like I said, I start taking a look at DALL-E now, just to create art. And although Adobe is not my favorite, especially right now, we're going to talk about them in a second, because they'll take ownership of everything, etc., etc. I don't really care if they take ownership of the crappy AI background art I use. It's not something of value. I only spend a few minutes creating a bunch of them for our podcast art and stuff. So
yeah.
Anyway, we might as well get into it. We've got a new segment today. We're going to start off. We usually rant at the beginning, but we're going to talk about today's tech. There's a lot going on in tech right now, and we discussed this briefly, but I threw a couple of things in because it's been a busy week. Adobe has responded to their terms of service update where they said they can review it for content moderation, which means they can remove it if they want to or whatnot. They can manually review it, humans. They can publish it or give it away for free. They can sell it to third parties, sublicense it. They can and will use it to train their eye, and you can't fully opt out of it. So that was as of I'm going to say about a week ago, June 6th, according to this, maybe June 5th.
Yeah.
And then they responded. And they kind of responded Adobe's responded by, they did a blog post. They changed some of the terms from they will moderate your content and look at your content to they may. So they changed a few of these things. And then they basically said, trust us, bro. We're not going to do this.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, well, why'd you put it in terms of service if you're not going to do it? Like, let's be honest about it. And so the internet went nuts. We posted a little bit about it. There's this list here I've got posted about all since Adobe updated their terms of service. There's these graphics and whatever, all the different competitors that you can pick over them to subscribe to something else.
Yeah.
These are going around. Canva struck out and saying, hey, we bought Affinity, etc., and our 3 Affinity products are now 50% off, and they're one-time purchase, not licensing, so come get them. So everybody is taking advantage of this particular situation.
Super smart. I would.
Yeah, and why not, right? And so here's where we find ourselves today, where they've changed these services, they've changed these updates, and now they're saying, okay, we've heard you, we're going to respond. Just give us a few days. So people are canceling left and right. People make these changes and they start canceling their Creative Cloud subscriptions, and then people go nuts. Like the company's like, oh crap. Like things like you can't even uninstall Photoshop unless you agree to these terms.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You can't even remove it.
Yeah.
So I don't like this, I'm getting rid of it. Oh no, you have to agree to our terms of service to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Well, so I can't use it and I can't get rid of it.
It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
So, and the longer they take, the more they're gonna, the more. I think this is the end of Adobe's kind of regardless of what they do, I think this is going to be the end, because there's a lot of good competitors out there that offer very similar type of products. Obviously, probably not as advanced, but um, to me, I think there's only a select few that are very, very advanced, that use their super advanced, that wouldn't find an alternative solution out there. I think this is a great opportunity for people to get out there and try other things. So,
Agreed.
and the other thing too about Adobe is you can't sue them. That's something that they're not even talking about. Like, if it like, you can't sue them, you can't bring a class action lawsuit. So the FTC is investigating them now.
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
in big trouble over this. And we'll see, these companies can bounce back pretty quick. So we'll see. But they really made a
I
big
hope they
splash.
don't.
And
I hope Adobe doesn't with what they're doing. I'm sorry. They want to do something like that. That's messed up.
well, we need to respond when companies start doing this stuff to us. We need to say that it's not acceptable. There's all alternatives out there,
Yeah,
and we got to start exploring some of them.
for sure.
And,
Yep.
and speaking of, uh, alternatives and whatnot, we talked about Microsoft their recall, I think about 2 weeks ago, and
Yeah.
how it was encrypted. It's this and this. They take screenshots every 3 seconds. They record everything you do. They record, whatever websites. If you're viewing someone else's website, or you're an IT person and you're looking at someone else's data or
Yeah.
whatever, they're taking snapshots of all of it. Then they said, "Oh, it's only for you. Don't worry about it," and it's completely unhackable. Then a few
Yeah.
days later, it was hacked,
Yeah.
and people, this is ridiculous. And Microsoft, said this was going to be on by default, and you couldn't turn it off. And now they've reversed course, saying, "Oh, okay, we're going to make it opt-in only after this is a security. Like, this is a security nightmare for people. I know people who do desktop support and remote support and all this kind of stuff, IT support. They're like, okay, I can't use Windows machines anymore to support my clients because you know I don't have the right to record the information that's on my screen. Like, what it can't it this is a security breach, and people aren't going to put up with it.
Yeah. And being Microsoft, like, how do you not test this for vulnerabilities before you release it? Like, that's nuts. I just, it baffles me that they've got all this money, they're doing all this R&D, yet they don't test it properly. Like, I remember back in the day, right, when Windows 3.1 came out and different things like that. Obviously, there weren't as like wasn't the internet and things like that, but you couldn't release something with as many bugs as they do now. Now it's just like pumping out, and they'll patch bugs and they'll fix bugs later, and it's crazy. There's not the proper testing that's happening.
Yeah, and they're doing all these things to train their AI, and they don't give too much about your concerns as a consumer. I was
No,
going to say don't give two craps.
they don't. They
Yeah,
don't give two craps.
and so it's like, oh, we're going to record everything that everyone does and then train our AI on it, and we'll be way better off. And Adobe's like,
Yeah.
we're going to um, have automated systems go through everything that's done in Creative Cloud, all your Adobe PDFs, everything you get signed, all your graphics, all the stuff you do, and we're going to train our AI on it. Great, this is all nuts.
Yeah. Well,
But at
and
least they've decided to make it opt-in only.
yeah. But it speaks to a larger problem, right? And this is that we do not have enough data to train AIs going forward. And this is their patchwork or their makeshift solutions to try to get more data to train their AIs better, right?
Yeah. And they don't care about their customers in order to get there. This is the rush to
Yep.
AI. It was a few years ago, was a rush to blockchain. Everybody had to blockchain everything or they were going to be left behind. That's kind of gone by the wayside, and there's actual practical uses for blockchain that people are using rather than just putting blockchain instead of database somewhere.
Yeah.
Similar to AI, right? And they have to start thinking about their consumer because consumers are walking away. You see that all over the industry. People they're just walking away. You start doing this
Yeah.
stuff that we don't like. Whether it's, oh, you hate Republicans or you hate Democrats, or you are going to steal my data, or you're going to do this, or you do that. People are walking away from this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
why are you doing any of it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
You
good.
know,
Yeah, it's just yeah, and the thing is these companies aren't learning. Like they think they're gonna pull the wool over our eyes and get away with stuff, and no, not anymore. So
and so on to the next thing this week.
yeah,
WWDC, and I started looking around at everything, and I saw all these articles about, oh, this was the best WWC ever, the most feet,
no,
this is the best, this, like, it's boring. This
yeah,
is boring. They announced what, a bunch of feature that's been on Android since 2005.
yeah.
The most exciting thing is the customizable bits, and now you can create new emojis,
I laughed
emojis.
so hard when they're like, "Look what you can do now! You can move an app anywhere you want on your screen." I'm like, "Yeah, we could do that in 2005 with Android." I laughed so hard that they emphasized that. It
Yeah,
was
and everyone, like, you're pitching 10-year-old stuff to people, 20-year-old stuff to people,
almost
and
20-year-old stuff.
yeah, and everyone's lopping it up saying, "Oh, this is the greatest stuff ever. Oh, this is amazing." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Really? Because this is some basic functionality. Oh, we can finally change those two buttons on the lock screen, whether it's a flashlight and the camera or
yeah,
not."
yeah.
You
Oh,
know?
it's nuts. Yeah, yeah. The cool. So I'll have to tell them this. The one cool thing that I liked that they announced was that, and this makes me think about possibly getting an iPhone, but I doubt I'll ever do that. That you can mirror your phone on your Mac, which
Yeah, that is cool. It's cool from, screen display, screen recording, doing all sorts of stuff like that, and I guess it's cool from a basic functionality, but do you really think that people would be using that too much?
well, for apps that are specific to iPhone or to the phone itself, instead of having to interact with it and type using the touchscreen, you could type using your keyboard and different things like that. If it's an iPhone instead of an iPad, it's just like I'm old school. I prefer browsing the internet on my laptop than on my phone. So just something cool.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting.
I guess so. I guess I'd just say that they've had for a while now, where you can run your iPad apps on your Mac. So,
Yeah,
um, I did just felt that was more of a, if I'm gonna do anything, it'd be that versus the iPhone. But I imagine some people would, like, you can answer calls and do stuff with it when it's across the room and stuff. So that's kind of nice.
yeah,
Um, the problem is with Apple, it's like everything else, AirDrop is great when it works,
yeah,
but when the two devices can't see each other, good luck.
yeah. Yeah.
um,
The other thing I laughed about was they're like, "Now you have a calculator on your phone." I'm
oh
like,
geez. No,
"Oh
on
my
your
god,
iPad. Yeah, I
seriously?"
had calculator phone before. It's like the
Yeah,
best thing at WWDC
yeah.
was the iPad calculator.
Oh. Now,
Oh,
I'll give
really?
them
Now
this,
you can write
the
equations and it'll
equation.
figure out. You know what? I had a 99-cent app to do that for me 20 years ago, or
Yeah,
not 20 years ago. Sorry, when the first iPads came out.
yeah, yeah. It's just so I'll give them this. They should have focused more on the fact that the calculator app could do that as opposed to a calculator app itself. Because it just makes it a joke that way.
Well, I think they were making fun of themselves because everyone's like, everyone has to go and download a third-party calculator app if they wanted to, or use a spreadsheet or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, what do? They announced Apple Intelligence. So first of all, they've branded capital A, little I.
Yeah.
So good luck you using that anywhere else now. It's a
Yeah.
trademark for Apple. And what have they done? They've just connected the back end to OpenAI and said, "Look how great we are."
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, what they did was, um, so where I was looking it up earlier, I can't remember where it was, but they have some sort of agreement where no one's really going to make much money between OpenAI and Apple right now. It's more of a distribution kind of thing, but Yeah, like so it just goes to show how crappy Siri is because they needed to partner with a third party to bring AI because their Siri is absolute garbage. And it's been garbage for I don't know how many years.
So I started watching some of their artificial intelligence sessions, but I only got about halfway through one where they're talking about machine learning and using their neural core stuff. I'd be interested in seeing what more digging down what they're going to allow developers and stuff to do with it,
Yeah,
and how we can train whatever type of AI is on and use these new neural net processing on the new chips that are coming.
yeah,
That is interesting.
yeah.
Um, and Elon Musk has come out and said, "Hey, with your huge privacy issues with OpenAI, if you continue with this, I'm going to ban all
Yeah.
Apple devices from Twitter, from X."
From all of his companies, yeah.
From his companies, yeah. I guess they're not going to use the Apple device in the company. It when you read
And
it, it's like, yeah.
and if you go visit them, you have to give up your device. So if you're a visitor going to visit the company, you're gonna have to put your device leave it at the front desk if it's an Apple device.
And Apple's approach to security by saying, "Hey, don't worry about security because everything's on device except when it's not." And we're going out to open API. So how much of your stuff is private? So many enterprises have already banned OpenAI in
Yeah,
their company because if you start putting documents in there to get it to fix it, those documents start appearing in other people's searches because OpenAI is a very public database.
yeah,
And we've seen patent applications and all this stuff leak
yeah.
with people pulling this. So uh how secure is this, and how is it going to be hacked again like Microsoft's?
Who
At least
knows?
I like that they're trying to be on device, but they're not really. So
No, 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 no. But yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of LLMs, Claude Anthropic's Claude is now available in Canada for those that are interested who don't use Poe.com or something like that. It is my favorite LLM, by the way. So that's just a side note.
Claude, I haven't tried that yet, so I'm gonna have to.
You have to, please do. It'll be a
And
world
then
of difference. But
also this week, Elon made likes private on Twitter or on X. And
which is
they're
weird. Yeah, so
well,
you
it
know more
is
about
and
this
it
than I
isn't.
do. I saw
You know,
this. I didn't do a deep dive. Can you explain, like, because you were talking about um, the impressions and things like that? Are you still able to track impressions or likes per
you as the individual, like if I make a post and you like it, I can see how many likes and I can see that you
Okay.
liked it, but no one else can see that you liked it.
Oh, okay.
So, all those people getting in trouble for liking someone's tweets and whatnot,
Yeah.
that ends. If people go through your Twitter profile and you like some comedian that did a skit back in whatever, and now it's offensive, and you're not going to get a job because of that, that's gone.
That's
Like
cool.
retweets and everything. So like also they're allowing porn and stuff. So I think that's another part of it. So you
Yeah.
can like
We
those
should call
things
it
that you
corn so that we don't get flagged.
prawn prawn.
Prawn or corn. Yeah. Um,
And
that, I didn't know that. So,
there's been a massive increase, according to Elon, in
oh,
likes after they were made private. So I guess, this is also part of the political sensitive stuff. No one wants
yeah.
to agree with something that maybe their coworkers or someone else will call them out for on the internet, but now they can.
Yeah. This is I can see the move to it. I know that Instagram sometimes won't show the number of likes. They'll just show that it says liked by this person and others. Um so that's been around for a while. I'm not too surprised about this. It's great
Yeah,
that you
but
can still,
that's for you. So Instagram did that from a mental health perspective. So
yeah,
you're not seeing all the likes and stuff.
yeah,
But if I like your stuff,
yeah.
my followers see that.
Okay, yeah.
This is the difference between
Oh,
now
okay. Yeah,
liking something on Twitter. Your followers aren't going to see that you liked it. So you're going to have to retweet or repost or
yeah,
whatever. So that's just kind of the concept difference here. So we'll have to see how this goes. And according to, like I said, Elon, there's been a huge increase in likes after they were made private. So
Yeah. Well,
we'll have
let's.
to see.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. So.
Um, I got one other thing to talk about. I
Yeah,
thought there was something else.
there is. There's that Ontario government thing.
Yeah, I've got it here.
Okay.
But I thought there was something else. That's why I'm
Oh, sorry.
so you had posted this on LinkedIn
Yeah.
whenever. And I don't not many people probably don't know this, but I used to mentor for the starter company program in Toronto several years ago.
Yeah.
And it's a great program. So the Ontario has expanded support for the starter company plus a program for aspiring entrepreneurs. And basically they'll give you up to they give you access to workshops, seminars, networking events, and grants up to 5,000 to help start your business.
Yeah.
And you don't entrepreneurs 18 age and up get this support. So it's a program, it's training, you get mentorship, and you get $35 to $5,000 depending on the specific program you're in. And you don't need to. They usually prefer that you're not very far along.
Yeah.
So if you just got an idea and you want to do this, start looking for the starter company program or starter company plus program in your region. So if you're in Toronto, just do starter company Toronto. If you're in Mississauga, same thing, Vaughan. You'll find the one local to you. And the new investments will increase the funding to 6.5 million a year. And they're trying to increase jobs here. So there's more and more money for this. So go out and get it if you're just
Yeah.
starting out.
I'm definitely applying for this with my startup. So.
Anything else?
No, I just it's interesting to see. I like that they're doing micro grants. I like that it's up to 5,000. There's some that like it, originally there was one that I was reading. It's like $1,500. Like $1,500 doesn't go far these days, right? But now that five up to 5,000, that can if you're, and I hate to say this, but if you're using overseas developers that are cheap, you could probably get to an MVP with 5,000 if you're doing it right. Potentially.
Yeah, you can do a lot with 5,000 if you're just starting out to validate your idea, to do a lot of stuff, to prototype something, to it depends, but you got to use your money creatively and whatnot. But yeah, I think this is a good program. A lot of those $1,500 programs are usually related to we'll pay you a little bit of money while you're taking the course to cover off any wages you may lose.
Yeah.
And it's usually not a lot. Like Antler's got a 3-month program, and they expect you to be full time in the program, and it's a free program. You apply for it,
Yeah.
and they pay you while you're in the program. It's not a lot, but and at the end, there's a number of them that they fund for 250,000 plus or whatever, depending on
what I like about this is that they're not just giving you a micro grant; they're offering you services and things like that, which I think is very key in order for a startup to be successful. Like we're in one of my companies, we're part of H2I at U of T, and they don't give you any money, but the support that they give you is great. And I hope that is the same case for this, which you would know. Being a mentor.
Well, it's hit and miss, right? Like because it's every city has different mentors. Every when I went there was people teaching the classroom work, and that was fine, and they were very rigid in their course material, which needed to be covered. And I'm not going to say anything negative about them, but there's a lot, like when you talk about entrepreneurship and running your own business, there's a lot of ancillary skills and abilities you need to understand.
Yeah.
Like, so we'd come in and do mentorship around those things, around idea validation, around social media management and getting your brand out there, branding, a whole bunch of other things related to but not, in the program, they're teaching you the accounting and this and that and all the specific stuff, which is great. So you get assigned long-term mentor. So it really depends on the region. There's a lot of good stuff there, and you get mentors that you can take advantage of. I'd suggest taking advantage of it. And if you're not happy with the mentors you are, just switch around, just ask for another one. I'm looking for this kind of this, because you'll find some matches. And the more people there to give you advice when you're starting out, the better. And then come join stuff like Toronto Starts, our startup drinks, or our workshops and events. And we'll point you in the right direction. There's so many other programs. Talk to John, because there's all. I just talked. I was on a BNI meeting this week and talked to North Star Startups, and they're really into people with just an idea, usually with low income, who are starting businesses and whatnot. And we're going to start pushing them in the direction of these things, because make them aware and spread the word. There's so many communities and institutions out there to help entrepreneurs in Canada. You should be taking advantage and getting the support you need. I like to say entrepreneurship is not a solo sport. So find your tribe, find your team, get your support that you need. And, it's emotionally and mentally challenging. There's more depression and anxiety in the entrepreneurship space
too.
than any other. And having people around you that are in the same space and community understand means more than you can know. So definitely take advantage of those things.
And don't expect to become a millionaire overnight. I think there was something I was reading where most founders are making less than minimum wage. So
most founders don't pay themselves for a long time. This becomes an issue, but yeah. All right, that was great.
Wow. All right.
So that was just stuff that was happening this week, and now we're on to FutureTech.
Welcome to FutureTech.
Yeah. Sound suppressing silk can create quiet spaces. Now, this is amazing because let's face it, once COVID started, we have a lot more people living with a lot more people rather than living on their own.
Yeah.
And having your own space, and everyone's doing calls from home, and you got 3 or 4 people doing it. We need more quiet space. So how does this work?
Yeah, so this is really cool. I like this because especially nowadays with how crappy these buildings, these condos are getting, and the thin walls and all that sort of stuff. This is great. So again, MIT, always cool stuff coming out of MIT. They've developed an ultra thin silk fabric that's embedded with vibrating fibers that can actively cancel noise or reflect sound. So the silk, what it does is it contains piezoelectric fibers that vibrate when voltage is applied. So it's acting kind of like as a loudspeaker. So you could essentially use these as big loudspeakers instead of your surround sound. I don't know. We'll get into that later. But the vibrating the fibers, what that does is it generates sound waves that destructively interfere to cancel the unwanted ambient noise. And so surprisingly, holding the fabric itself, it still allows it to reflect and block sound transmission just through the material without applying a voltage. So it's a lightweight, efficient sound reduction using common fabrics. So this is cool. I think there's great use cases for this. So the thing with the piezoelectric materials is they produce electricity when bent or squeezed. And here, when they vibrate to generate sound, that's when electricity is applied. So the active noise cancellation, it uses sound waves that are about 180 degrees out of phase with ambient noise. The combined effect cancels out sound. So getting into kind of the nuances, and I know this because we did this in school, is the only way to cancel out sound is by generating a opposite sine wave. So when it peaks, when the sound peaks, there's a valley, right? So that's essentially what they've created, which is really cool. And so there's a lot of potential here. That's the word I was looking for. Jesus.
Yeah, whenever we talk about piezoelectric stuff, it's always exciting.
Yeah.
How well does it dampen the sound or soundproofing? Like, are we going to go back to the 70s and instead of doors, we have these little drapes in the windows, but they actually stop sound now?
For sure. Well, yeah. So the article itself, so it appears very promising, but it may not be as effective at sound blocking as traditional soundproofing materials like foam or insulation at this point. So the thing and I did some background research here, the silk fabric, it reduced sound transmission by up to 75% in testing, which is significant, but not total blocking, right? So conventional soundproofing can achieve 90% or higher in reduction, but you need to put these panels on your walls. So, or the other thing too, people, if you don't know this, you can use eggshell cartons as sound dampeners. You can put those on your walls if you want. Paint them black, put them up on your wall. The way it works, the way that sound dampeners work, these panels and stuff, is they have sharp angles, like they look like pyramids that are protruding out, and that essentially cancels out the sound. So it kind of muffles it or stops the sound wave from going any further. So getting back to the silk technology, it relies on a passive vibration dampening and active noise canceling. So traditional materials are passive and block sound through absorption and mass density, like I was just talking about. The silk fabric is extremely thin and lightweight, so that's really good compared to other materials. So this allows you, you can just, like you said, you can drape it. You can put up curtains and different things like that. So the thing is it makes it well suited for applications where standard soundproofing is impractical or too bulky. So obviously this is new technology. It's still in development, but like having 75% in testing right now is really good. I think they'll be able to achieve 100% at some point. Maybe not, but.
So I was going to ask about volume, and maybe I will still, but it says 65. It can significantly reduce the volume of sounds up to 65 decibels, about the as loud as an enthusiastic human conversation. So this is great for like podcast studios or whatever, right? And I see this being great for, like I said, if we put these in front of the doors in houses and stuff, if I'm getting a 75% reduction noise coming out of my room, and you're getting a 75% reduction of noise going into your room, that's going to be some pretty quiet stuff.
Yeah. And what happens if you put one on each side
of the door, for example?
Additive? What's that?
Yeah, on the door. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's why I think there'll be like in houses, you wouldn't just have one. No. Is all I'm saying, because you'd and the question becomes is, if someone's playing the TV too loud or playing loud music, how effective is this going to be?
Well, yeah. So just to, so music or loud TV can reach up to 100 dBs, right? And then just to put things into perspective, construction tools can be between 100 and 120 decibels. But like, I think this would be good for even in hotel rooms where you just put it in front of the door to the hallway, because you can hear everything in those hallways, right? By putting up this silk curtain, boom, you're reducing the hallway noise by 75%. So.
Yeah, and in co-working spaces, we love working at Workhouse. They got 9 to 10 locations in Toronto that you can drop in anytime. So check them out. But I love their marble floors at 30 Wellington that we're walking on. But, they're noisy when you're walking down them as an individual, or if you're in the lounge and there's a bunch of conversations happening. It's not necessarily too noisy, but I'm saying this now allows much more sound control for companies where there's a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Where, soundproofing is ridiculously expensive. So that's my next thing is, great. How expensive is this going to be?
Yeah. So it doesn't provide exact cost estimates, but so the materials used are relatively low cost. So you're using silk, cotton, muslin fabric, along with the piezoelectric fibers. So they're not overly exotic components. The fabrication process seems straightforward using standard textile manufacturing methods like weaving and sewing. So this could enable quick scalable production. The only thing is the specialized piezoelectric fibers are likely more expensive currently until they're mass produced. So the other thing too is if you do add voltage generators, that's going to require an added cost, but I don't think that's too much. Voltage generators have been around for years. So obviously the cost I think is going to be higher initially, but there is potential for it to drop because it's not like they're using carbon nanotubes or anything exotic, right? It's all known technologies that's been around for years. It's just a matter of integrating them and figuring out how to mass produce it.
Yeah, and it looks like it's funded here by the National Science Foundation, the Army Research Office, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, and the Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation, which sticks out a little there. But
Yeah.
um, we always talk about the military doing these things, and obviously this is there's all sorts of military applications for this. I'm more interested in the consumer applications. Is this going to be cheap enough that we're going to like put it in standard buildings, like in a house we'll put one of these in between floors so the noise is severely reduced, or in the walls between apartment
That's what I was
buildings or
thinking.
whatever?
Yeah, it's like so I don't think you could put it in the walls. I think you could put it on top of the walls, just because obviously it needs to vibrate, right? And so if you put it in the walls, you're restricting its, because if you have insulation in there too, it might not be able to vibrate. But um, I think even just uh, I think we're going to have a lot of curtains and a lot of silk fabrics draping over walls in the future, maybe, unless they design something else using this technology. But
What kind of now we're saying what it do is creates the opposite signals from the highs and the lows. It's the opposite. So we're always talking about electric signals and interference, and all the stuff that's running through our bodies and from Wi-Fi and all the other signals in the house. Is this going to have health impacts too? Because this sounds like instead of reducing, we're applying more signals.
yeah, well, you've used noise canceling headphones before, right? So
Yep.
when you put them on your ears, right, you feel a pressure difference. So active noise canceling, how it works is it generates sound waves that interfere with noise. So they cause pressure on the eardrum. So if you get close to these drapes, that could cause pressure on the eardrum over time. Who knows? The other thing to think about that you might not is hearing perception. So continually dampening ambient noise could possibly impact natural hearing ability over time. Obviously, it could be reversible once it's stopped, but yeah, a cognitive effects altering the auditory environment long term may potentially affect cognition. Electrical safety, so obviously any electrical malfunction. Um, the other thing too is eye strain. So the subtle noise interference effect over many hours daily could hypothetically cause eye or brain strain, but again, it's uncertain. So again, and taking all that into effects, maybe there's psychological effects. So these are speculative. So they're gonna have to do a thorough biocompatibility test for short and long term safety. Absolutely, 100%.
While I've never knowingly been inside a skiff, um, I walk by one every day when I was working at Bell Mobility. I don't exactly remember what skiff stands for, but it's secure communication something something. It's soundproof room with all
Yeah,
secure info that no one can spy on, that military and governments use. But I'd walk by, the in when I was working at Bell Mobility, and I had no idea what it was, but immediately that pressure would hit my ear, right?
yeah,
And I'm like, and I didn't really know that it was this active noise cancellation that was hitting me. As I just didn't know. I was like, wow, that's weird. It also had the weird foam things and whatever. It had
yeah.
everything, but I could imagine it wasn't subtle to me. I could imagine working in that would not be good for you long term.
No, no, absolutely not.
So let's get to the obvious question: when can we get some?
I'm guess again. I don't know. I would say if they can, like they've already have the proof of concept. If they wanted to start mass producing this now, they could potentially, if they have the right components and things like that. So I'm guessing like high cost 3 to 5 years, low cost 5 to 10.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Quieter home is a happy home.
yeah, exactly.
So now we're creating water from air. This new air to water converter uses solar power to deliver 19 liters a day. What's happening here?
I love this. So this is using some exotic technology. Well, not exotic, but more advanced. So drinking maker, they've developed an air-to-water device called Drinking Water. It uses solar power to extract moisture from the air, which is really cool. Then it can generate up to 19 liters of drinking water per day. But it uses advanced graphene filtration technology. So that's where the cost comes in here. The unit apparently also functions as an air purifier, a humidifier, and a dehumidifier, which makes sense. And then the way it works is the solar panels provide energy to power a refrigeration system that condenses water vapor and from air. So they're aiming to provide renewable drinking water even in arid climates, right? So the way, just some cool things, is the atmospheric water generation mimics how this one beetle, Stenocara or Stenocera, condenses fog on its back to obtain water in desert environments. And so just like reiterating some of the key technical components, you got solar panels, condenser coils, graphene filters, and even a mineralization system. So the condensation process apparently works even in low humidity, but obviously the output will depend on the ambient moisture level. So, and the filtration, from what they're saying, removes contaminants and bacteria down to 0.01 microns based on the graphene's molecular sieving properties. So really cool stuff. They've got a crowdfunding campaign going on, I think, on Indiegogo or Kickstarter. I can't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, if I find the link here, I'll throw that in the podcast show notes to their Kickstarter. So take a look there if you're interested. I'm curious. So you're saying you think it's drinkable, because it sounds like the water makes is filtered, and you said a percentage pure or whatever.
Yeah.
But does that mean it's drinkable?
Yeah, so apparently the system, it uses a graphene oxide filtration membrane with pores small enough to block contaminants and bacteria. So the graphene-based filters, so they can filter out particulates, microplastics, chemicals, and pathogens. So I'm guessing that is. It also incorporates an activated carbon filtration and UV disinfection, which is standard for water purification methods. So the company claims it removes 99.97% of 2.5 particles and 99.7% of other contaminants. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's good. It sounds like it is. And then the remineralization, apparently the minerals added back are presumably pharmaceutical grade for health and taste. But there's no specific water contaminant levels provided. So the multi-stage filtration approach, it indicates, and I put it in quotes, high purity. So
we really can't say how pure it is compared to, say, bottled water.
Nothing in the article states that, and nothing in my, but yeah, I guess I could, I don't know what 99.97% and 99.
That's fine, because I guess it depends where you get it from. That's it.
But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what kind of maintenance does it require? Is this it's like the size of your coffee machine, you set it on your counter or whatever and forget it? Do we need to change filters? Do we need to?
Yeah, so apparently what they're saying is the graphene oxide, activated carbon, and pre-filters would need replacement every 6 to 12 months, depending on usage and water quality. The mineral cartridge that remineralizes and adds things in probably is going to need replacing more frequently. The UV lamp probably every 1 to 2 years, and you're going to have to clean the condensation coils, the water tank, the humidity heads occasionally to prevent mineral buildup and biofilms. Just like your coffee machine, you'll have to descale it probably to remove mineral deposits from the components. And then just regular checkups, like checking the fan, which you should be checking regular components on your other devices, which you don't. So this is just stuff that you should be doing, but you're not. But yeah, the thing that I'm a little concerned about, obviously, is the refrigerant that is used. So you're going to have to check the refrigerant level so that it's the condensation unit's working properly.
But 19 liters a day, is that enough to survive on for a bunch of people? Like, you got to cook, you got to do a bunch of stuff.
19 liters. Yeah, I guess if you think about it, people drink what, 1 to 3 liters of water a day. So if you're very, I think 19 liters should be more than enough.
You would think. I'm
You
just
would
saying,
think.
assuming that, you gotta cook with it and do a few other things. It's not just, drinking water, right? Assuming
Yeah,
if
but if
you're
you're
filtering out.
cooking, yeah, I guess, yeah, yeah,
I just assume you're filtering the water for a number of reasons. It's not
yeah.
just because you want the purest water out there.
No, that's true.
Um,
Yeah,
it's, so this is great potentially for, anyone who's in an arid climate. Like, we're lucky in Canada where we have plenty of fresh water, but
yeah,
not necessarily in many other places in the world. Now, here's, the downside. This is an Indiegogo campaign, and I'm
yeah,
always skeptical about these things because many times been burned. Um, and it says the AWD primary edition is going to be 329, while the Pro edition is 399. There are other pre-existing dispensers, but there are, roughly 1,000 US and, uh, almost 12.5 thousand US. So this will be the first consumer level, but or I don't know what consumer, the other one's 1,000 um level machine. Is it, do we actually think it's going to work and do these things?
um, I think so. I think, like based on what they're describing, the only thing that just stands out to me as would have to be a little cautious of is the graphene filter. I'm not too familiar with the graphene filterization technology, but everything else besides the graphene filter is standard kind of technology, not standard technology, but known technology. So I yeah, we'd have to we'll have to see what their claims, if their claims are true and things like that. But again, that $300 mark is right now during the Indiegogo campaign. I'm guessing it'll probably be double that once it gets released.
Yeah, potentially. So,
Yeah.
like I said, a link to that will be in the show notes for anybody who's interested.
And
So
we're
let's
by
jump
no
on.
means advertising this or pushing this. So
Yeah,
please,
we
uh,
don't know these people. We
yeah,
don't. We're not vouching for anybody here.
no,
So do your own research on this if you
yeah.
want to
Don't
potentially
come
buy
back to
one.
us if your money gets taken, please.
So bye bye e-bike. Here comes hydrogen bikes. Is this the future?
Oh, this is cool. So, I actually, the maker of this bike interacted with me on LinkedIn, which was really cool after I posted their article. And they were saying, yeah, we're excited. We're working on it more and things like that. So, they're excited about this technology. I'm excited about this because this is more hydrogen stuff. So, this article talks about the author. He rode this hydrogen fuel cell e-bike from the startup Hydro Ride in Amsterdam, and it uses hydrogen tanks and an onboard fuel cell to generate the electricity. So the riding experience apparently felt similar to a normal e-bike, with a comparable 250 watt power output and a range of up to 60 miles per hydrogen bottle. And so home hydrogen, so what they're saying is you can pair this with a home hydrogen generator, which can produce fuel from water electrolysis powered by renewable electricity. So refueling apparently is easier than charging a battery. So the main advantages are there's no reliance on problematic battery materials, easier refueling for fleets, and avoiding battery degradation because you're not with the cycles, you're not losing that power. So yeah, the fuel cells combine hydrogen and oxygen to produce the electricity electrochemically, and the only product byproduct is water, just like hydrogen. So the tanks, I think, are around 500 milliliters. They are high pressure, so that is something to think about. But um, the one thing too is the fuel cell systems currently are more expensive than batteries per kilowatt hour. But again, this is new technology, right? So really cool stuff.
Yeah, and the article here says that they're focused more on B2B than B2C. Their main goal is to get bike and scooter sharing companies using this
Yeah.
because the number one problem for those companies is the batteries.
Yes. Yeah,
For the
and
big,
that makes sense, right? This is just it's like think of those propane cages outside the gas station. It can be kind of like that where all they have to do is refill the cage near the bikes or replace them themselves. or people can do it themselves if it's like a twist and plug or whatever. But yeah, I think there's potential here. But again, the storage is what I'm worried about. Is if they're storing it in these tanks and these tanks are left outside, is there potential there? Is there a potential for danger?
Yeah, it's definitely, we talk about uh, the explosive capability of this, and this article talks about, we've come a long way since the days of the Hindenburg, but yeah, this is a water bottle sized thing of hydrogen. If it gets exposed to oxygen, it'll explode. So we definitely want to make sure that everything's safe. But it seems like we have like we're talking about home hydrogen generators, and there's one here
Yeah,
that you can pick some of these up on Amazon, and then you can use that to fill up the bottles. I guess they have a standard interface, not sure. But this is great for those bike companies and scooter companies, because instead of hauling around and having to recharge all those batteries all the time, they do quick fill ups of these things rather than
yeah,
hours of charging. And it's much more lightweight to carry them around and
yeah,
just replace um, the bottles where they are instead of those batteries,
yeah.
because they're
And
really heavy.
depending on the storage containers themselves, could last longer than batteries, as far as the life cycle of them, right? So
Yeah, and it uses standard e-bike motor, so
yeah,
this, I could just see this starting to take off, because we're talking about 500 millimeter of hydrogen, but it's easy to have two of those on a bike, or
yeah,
do 1,000 milliliter or whatever, and now you're talking about doubling the range instantly just by increasing that capacity without huge expense. Like the battery is 70% of the cost on e-bike, so
yeah,
you take that out, you're like, oh, okay, this actually might drive the price down, and do a lot more from an environment point of view. We've been talking about hydrogen for a while, and I've always said we're going to have solar panels and hydrogen generators in the house so we can bottle this up and
yeah.
refuel our hydrogen fuel cells, and it's starting to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think this is a great use for the technology. I didn't even think about this. All I've been thinking about is the larger transportation kind of trains and transport trucks. But I think this is great. I think this is a great use case for hydrogen.
Yeah, and we there's less cyclists in Canada because of our winters. Like, I love my bike and I go
Yeah.
everywhere on it. This would be an interesting, maybe the next one I get will be
So
something
that's
like
something I
this.
didn't look into is how does cold weather affect these hydrogen tanks or the storage? Is there less range because of it? That would be something to definitely look into. I don't think it does because obviously the colder it
Hydrogen
is,
prefers
that
cold.
what's that?
Hydrogen prefers
I know
cold.
exactly. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So this might be great for Canada.
And it's just using the standard e-bike and motors that they have, so it's just
Exactly.
a converting process. So this
Yeah,
looks
it's just
interesting.
they're instead of using batteries to power, they're using hydrogen to power the motor. So yeah, it works the exact same way. Just the power no the power source is different, right?
Any indication on when these bikes will be available to buy?
Yeah, so obviously they've got prototypes, limited demonstration deployments. Apparently, the current cost might be around $5,000 US for initial models, which I don't think is that expensive compared to like you can get a mountain bike and you can easily spend $5,000 to $10,000 on a mountain bike, right? Um, so if we're looking at, I would say in the next 3 to 5 years, small commercial launches, but hey, if Hydrobike wants to chime in here and give us, this is just my estimates, but if they want to chime in here and let us know what they think, that would be great. So if they get to commercial production 3 to 5 years, maybe that reduces the price a little, and then 5 to 10 years it'll reduce the price even more, especially as hydrogen technology gets developed. I think definitely taking that into consideration and production costs going down as they scale up, we could look at maybe getting to $2,000 per US per bike. Who knows?
I can see them getting a lot less than that as you start to see e-bikes drop
Yeah.
in price. You know, there are a huge difference. You can get them for $300 or $400 at Walmart now, or you can get them for several $1,000s. So
Yeah.
it depends on where you are, and you know, obviously quality differences and whatnot. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see. As soon as these start coming out, we'll see more and more other competition and whatnot, and we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in that. So what do you got going on, John?
Yeah. So, well, for those of you listening, next week is Collision. Still don't know if I'm going yet, but I think there's a couple things. So the big one that I'm excited about, that is huge event, super pumped. Lots of people are going to go. Is Startup Drinks TO on Thursday, on June 20th. That's going to be great. Go ahead and talk about it a little more, Craig.
Over 300 tickets are gone already.
Yeah.
It's a collision after party, and you know, people don't necessarily know this, and maybe I should have did this in our news segment, but this not only is the last year for Collision in Toronto, it's the last year for Collision, period.
Yeah.
So they're rebranding to Web Summit, I guess,
Web
and it's going to
Summit.
be in
Yeah.
Vancouver. So that's a whole. I'd like to do that. I think they used to run Web Summit and this one. So are they merging them together? I got to do a little
Yeah.
work
They
on
have
that.
Web Summits all over the world. So this
Yeah.
makes sense, I guess. Yeah.
And so they just rebranding it to align that, you know, Web Summit Barcelona and
Yeah.
now Vancouver, or so they'll have multiple Web Summits every year, or as you know, we'll see.
Yeah.
But the point being is, if you're in Toronto, get your ticket to Collision now. Here's the inside tip for people. I've told everyone who asked me this. If you're still looking for tickets and don't want to pay the price, search on LinkedIn, search on Twitter for Collision, Collision Conf, Collision HQ, whatever tag they're using now, and alpha or beta, and you'll get all these people saying, I was accepted in the alpha program, I was accepted in the beta program. And with those passes, they get 4 tickets.
Yeah.
And instead of paying $1,000 plus, you can probably reach out. A lot of those only have 1 or 2 people going, and they'll be happy to take $100 for one of those tickets. So reach out, get them if you can. It's the last time in Toronto, so their last
Yeah.
chance to go. There's over 50,000 people coming to the city for this. If you can't make it or can't do that, join us at the Collision After Party. You can just buy a quick ticket. It's our largest event of the year. We'll have more investors, more founders, more people from out of town. So if you want to get in front of business owners, it's a great time to do it.
Great time. Yeah.
And you mentioned another event coming up,
Yeah.
I think at
Monday.
the beginning. So we are ending Collision, but TechTO, I think, has a kickoff kind of party.
Well, they're doing their summer social. They do this, I think, maybe once a year, maybe twice a year. It's great. It's this year it's at the Slip at the Queen's Quay. It's on Monday from 6 to 9. It's going to be great. Lots of people attend this. There's networking and mingling and speakers, community open mic. Yeah, it's a great event. It's a different venue than they normally have it. It's outside. It's going to be, depending on weather, it should be good. So
yeah, sounds fantastic. So if you're going, it's going to be crazy week. We've got the summer social, TechTO. We got Collision all week. We got events happening. We got the Collision after party on June 20th. Go to startupdrinksto.com. And anything else you want to add before we sign off today, John?
No. Great talk today. That's for sure.
Yeah, and if you're going to be at Collision, if you see me there, I'll be wearing a red shirt. Come talk to me. I'll be interviewing startups, investors, and anybody who's doing anything cool in tech. I'll be in the media lounge and other areas, depending on, and walk in the startup areas. So depending if you're a speaker, I'll try and catch you in the media lounge. But if you're a regular startup, I'll catch you in the other places. So we'll see you then, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much, Craig.
Thanks, everyone.